Look down at your chest in the mirror after a bench press session. There it is again. That dark, empty valley running down the middle. Every rep felt heavy. Every set felt like progress. So why does that gap refuse to close? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The gap isn't a separate muscle waiting to be discovered. It's the sternum, the flat bone sitting between the two halves of the chest, and no amount of pressing will ever cover bone with muscle. What actually determines how narrow or wide it looks is how developed the inner fibers of the pectoralis major are, specifically the sternal head, the lower inner portion that most lifters barely train. Think about what a flat barbell bench press actually does. The bar path forces the shoulders back and the arms wide, which biases the clavicular head, the upper chest, and the front delts. Researcher Brad Schoenfeld, whose work at CUNY Lehman College focuses heavily on hypertrophy training variables, has shown that muscle growth is highly regional. Different angles recruit different fibers within the same muscle. So if every chest day starts and ends with flat pressing, the outer and upper chest keeps thickening while the inner lower fibers stay underdeveloped. That's the gap staring back at you. So what actually closes it? Mechanical tension. That's the force a muscle fiber experiences while resisting a load through a full range of motion. For the inner chest specifically, that means exercises where the arms cross toward the midline at the top of the movement. Cable flies with a low to high path. Dumbbell flies with a deep stretch and a squeeze at the top. Decline presses, where the bar path naturally pulls the arms inward. Each of these places tension directly on the fibers that sit closest to the sternum. Here's where it gets counterintuitive. Most lifters assume heavier weight always means better growth. But for inner chest work, going lighter with a controlled squeeze often beats loading up the bar. Because heavy compound presses recruit the shoulders and triceps to share the load, which means the inner pec fibers never reach full tension. A lighter cable fly, held under control for 2 to 3 seconds at peak contraction, keeps that tension isolated exactly where it's needed. The International Society of Sports Nutrition and multiple hypertrophy reviews point to time under mechanical tension, not just total weight moved, as the real driver of muscle growth in isolated movements like this. There's also a timing piece almost nobody talks about. Training the inner chest first, while the muscle is fresh, produces noticeably better mind-muscle connection than tacking it on at the end of a workout when the pecs are already fatigued from pressing. Try flipping your order. Start with a slow, controlled cable fly. Then move into presses. The difference in how deeply you feel that inner squeeze is immediate. Grip and hand position matter more than most people realize too. On a flat or decline press, bringing the hands slightly closer than shoulder width shifts more work onto the inner fibers without turning the movement into a triceps exercise. On flies, the direction of the cable path at the finish is what counts. Crossing the hands slightly at the top, rather than stopping them parallel, keeps the sternal fibers under load for that extra half second where most of the growth signal actually happens. Small adjustment, different result entirely. None of this happens overnight. Muscle protein synthesis, the biological process where the body repairs and rebuilds muscle fibers after training, takes roughly 24 to 48 hours to peak and settle following a session, according to research reviewed by Stuart Phillips at McMaster University. That means training the inner chest once a week isn't enough for most people. Twice weekly, with adequate recovery between sessions, gives that tissue enough repeated stimulus to actually adapt and grow. So the plan is simple. 2 inner chest focused sessions a week. Start with a slow cable or dumbbell fly, squeezing hard at the top for a full 2 count. Follow it with a decline press to add load once the fibers are primed. Track it for 8 weeks and look in that mirror again. That gap in your chest was never a hole to fill. It's a signal, a map of exactly which fibers have been ignored. Train the sternal head with the same intention you've given every other muscle, and that dark valley starts closing session by session. Small in the moment, undeniable by week 8. If this changed how you'll train chest this week, subscribe to FitLab. There's a full breakdown coming on inner chest programming that builds directly on everything just covered.